Hello everyone, Chris McCarthy here on the Feeder Series channel, bringing you your FIA Formula 2 post-season test review from Abu Dhabi. Thank you first of all for the support on the daily reviews that I did last week. Sorry I couldn't get one to you for day 3. Was just the commitments that I had that day meant I couldn't get one together in time. But as promised, I'm bringing you one now for the test overall and my 5 points that I feel were the biggest to take away from it. So let's get straight into it, shall we? Some stats and facts first of all, then your top 10. Overall combined, I've put all 6 sessions together to bring you an overall result, and then the 5 points to take away. So some quick stats and facts for the session that I felt were most important. So overall, we had 23 drivers taking part. Of course, Christian Mansell, the Formula 3 driver this year, jumped in for Richard Verschoor over at Trident on the last day. 4 different teams in the top 4, I think, highlighted the competitiveness, as did the less than 1 second between the top 19 overall, as did the half a second between the top 13 overall even more. Victor Martins was very impressive, as he was both the most consistent driver and the busiest driver across the 3 days. A total of 313 laps, and he was out the top 3 just twice. And the Paraguay flag was in Formula 2 for the first time with Joshua Dirksen, and his car looked absolutely fantastic. Your top 10 overall combined result for the Abu Dhabi test. Zane Maloney was the fastest driver for road and Carlin with a 135.783, and now all of these sessions came in the day 2 morning session, except for the driver in 4th place. Victor Martins was 2nd for ART Grand Prix with a 135.888. Then it was Dennis Hauger in 3rd for MP Motorsport with a 135.954. Isack Hadjar, whose time came on day 3 for Campos, was 4th with a 135.954. So there came the 4 different teams in the top 4. Then Isaac's teammate Pepe Marti was the lead rookie, the one of 4 rookies to follow now. He was 5th with a 135.984. Then Zak O'Sullivan, P6. For ART Grand Prix with a 135.993. Then 2,000ths behind him was Andrea, Kimi, Antonelli in 7th for Prema with a 135.995. Then Franco Colapinto for MP Motorsport with a 136.013. Then Jak Crawford for Dams in P9 with a 136.054. Then Enzo Fittipaldi for Van Amersfoort with a 136.067. Just 0.3 of a second thereabouts between the top 10 drivers overall. Incredibly close stuff. Okay, let's go into my 5 points that I feel were the biggest to take away from the Abu Dhabi test. Point number 1, boy from Barbados stamps authority ahead of 2024 season. Now, after an opening season in Formula 2 of what I can only say were mixed fortunes for Zane Maloney, and a season of mixed fortunes also for the Road and Carlin team. I mean, yes, they finished 3rd in the team's championship, but Enzo Fittipaldi 7th in the Drivers' Championship, Zane Maloney 10th. Not the season that they would have hoped for, and not the season Zane would have hoped for. He was on the podium a few times, but many races where fortunes did not go his way at all, despite the pace that he had. Very much next year, he's hoping to go for the title and also take the lead role within that team, because he did not have that this year with Enzo being the more experienced driver. He's got now a driver coming in with no F2 experience in Rotoma Miata, and he was way clear of him, which we would expect to happen in that test, but also he was the fastest driver, and that was really impressive to see. Of course, Carlin have never won an F2 or a GP2 title. They came runners-up with Lando Norris in 2018. Could next year be the year that we see Rodin Carlin go and win the Formula 2 title? They've got a Red Bull Junior in Zane Maloney. It would be historic with a driver from Barbados as well. Zane Maloney's got a lot of support behind him. He's fought for titles in Formula 3 as well. He's ran at the front in Formula 3 and Formula Regional. Could we now see him fight for a title in Formula 2. He certainly got off to a very, very good start, going fastest in this post-season test. I do not think it should be overshadowed, and Zane Maloney has definitely shown that he's the lead driver in that team, and also one of the lead contenders going in to next season. Point number 2, 4 different teams inside the top 4. I highlighted this going through those top 10. We had 4 different teams in the top 4. I'll go through them one more time. Rodin Carlin, ART, MP and Campos with Maloney, Victor Martins over at ART, Dennis Hauger at MP, Isack Hadjar at Campos. Now those are 4 drivers in those cars that all carry experience, all carry wins or podium finishes, and 3 of those were testing with the same team that they raced with this year. The only driver not with the same team was Isack Hadjar, who has switched over to Campos Racing. And you could easily say those alone are 4 title contenders. Victor Martins in particular, given how consistent he was, and he was top rookie this year. Dennis Hauger seems to, now he's not under that Red Bull threshold anymore, seems to have a different mindset under him. He was very impressive at Macau, and almost feels he has something to prove. Isack Hadjar, after his F1 outings, has a different air of confidence about him as well. So those 4 drivers alone really, really excite me, I have to say, and it just shows we have 4 teams there that are going to make next season incredibly exciting, and we haven't even got to the likes of Prema, Virtuosi, Dams or High-Tech yet. So incredibly exciting season coming up next year, and that was highlighted with 4 different teams in the top 4. Point number 3, Pepe Marti leads a strong charge for the rookies in the top 10. Now I mentioned that we had 4 rookies in the top 10. Those were Pepe Marti in 5th, Zak O'Sullivan in 6th, Andrea Kimi Antonelli in 7th, and Franco Colapinto in 8th. So 3 F3 graduates, 1 Freca graduate as well. Pepe Marti 5th overall, just a couple of tenths of a second back from Zane Maloney, his fellow Red Bull junior. Which very impressive from all 4 of those drivers, particularly from the likes of Pepe Marti as well, who has done no real testing in the car. But one thing I do think it has shown from all 4 of those rookies is they've all been able to jump in the car, learn it very, very quickly. And we must remember that next year we're going into a brand new car. So if all of these drivers can jump in this car and learn it at this speed, then how quick are they going to be able to learn that car next year, and how close is that going to make this championship next year as well? So we have just been shown that we have rookies that can learn very, very quickly, and I think that's going to make next season even more exciting. So we have incredibly talented rookies going into next season, and that for me could make this one of the most exciting F2 seasons in history. And I'm going to jump on that point number 4 as well. Just 0.3 seconds between the top 12 drivers in looks to what be a brilliant season. I do not say this, people might think I'm getting carried away when I say this, but I do think this could be one of the best F2 seasons we've ever seen. I mean, 0.3 seconds between the top 12. In 12th place, Ollie Behrman. I mean, many people titling him the favourite for next year. Just ahead of him, Gabriel Bortoleto, F3 champion. Enzo Fittipaldi just ahead of him, the winner from Spa this year. Just ahead of him, Jak Crawford, a Red Bull Ring winner. The list goes on. Every single driver within that top 12 could be a race winner next season, could be a podium finisher, could be a title contender as well. No driver went quickest twice, which I think highlights how competitive it was across the drivers and the teams as well. With a new car, lots of new drivers, I think this is going to be a very unpredictable season, and perhaps the most exciting one we've seen. So, strap yourselves in. I think next year is going to be really exciting, and of course we still have pre-season testing to do. And finally, this one I was excited to say actually, and this is one I think many people could be thinking as well. But point number 5, if Antonelli can learn the current car that quickly, will anyone be able to keep up with him in the new one? So this a bit of a bold statement, some could say. Some Antonelli fans will certainly be thinking it, though I don't say it in a biased way, because of course I do know him from the FIA Championship, but if we have a driver that's jumped up from FIA, essentially bypassed F3, gone into an F2 car, learnt it very quickly, gone second fastest on day 1, 7th fastest overall, has been quicker than his race-winning teammate Ollie Bearman. Not by very much, it was incredibly close in that area of the field. In the top 10 overall, will anyone be able to keep up with him when the new car is presented? If he can learn a car that quickly. The Mercedes Junior has just proven that he's able to adapt incredibly quickly, and has proven why this decision essentially has been made. Many questioned, was this jump too big? I think those questions arguably are being answered. Yes, we have to get the new car out and get him into a racing scenario, but I think slowly people are starting to realise why the decision has been made. And then now the question before Bahrain is slowly being asked, I guess, if he can do this if he can learn this quickly over 3 days, what's going to happen during pre-season testing, and by the time we get to the first round, will anyone be able to keep up with the young Italian when the new car is presented? So it's a bit of a bold statement, but one I did want to throw out there. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see. But that said, I go back to point 4. I think this is going to be the most exciting season, and we had 0.3 of a second between the top 12. And a word for Joshua Dirksen as well, which I wanted to end on. 14th overall, another driver coming up from FIA. Many actually gave, when that news came in, a lot of people had bad things to say about that on social media, and I think he silenced a lot of critics. So I'm very happy for Joshua Dirksen to see him do that. Very nice chap, and did himself very proud, and the country of Paraguay as well. There was a lot of people that would have been very proud of him. So well done, Joshua Dirksen. Very proud to see him out there. Okay, I'm going on a little bit too much now. Let's go on to the remaining teams and drivers. Ollie Bearman was 12th, as I mentioned. Rotoma Miata for Rodin Carlin. Well done to him. Great to see him out there as well. 18th for him. Juan Manuel Correa, of course, now with Dams, was 16th. Then we had Gabriel Bortoletto. I think very solid from our F3 champion. Outperformed his more experienced teammate. I think is the better use of phrase there. Chris McCarthy in 13th, so a solid start for our F3 champion. He will only get better from there, trust me. Rafael Villagomez 20th. Paul Aron also better than his more experienced teammate Anne-Marie Cordial in 17th, 19th. That's where your high-tech drivers were. Trident, Richard Vishaw 15th. Ollie Gerth 21st. Christian Mansell 23rd. Well done to him, jumping in the car on the last day. And then Joshua Dirksen 14th ahead of Josh Mason, who of course did some races this year. 22nd, that is all for your FIA Formula 2 post-season test review. Don't forget more transfer weeklies still to come here on the feeder series from myself and my guests. But thank you very much for watching these. I will be back to do these again on feeder series for pre-season testing. That has been all though for your post-season test review shows here on feeder series. Bye bye.